It's the all-wheel drive event at Lithia Ford of Boise. From hunting trips to ski trips to Grandma's house. Nobody does AWD like LFB, Lithia Ford of Boise, where Ford begins in Idaho.
Eat Lux your way with the Lux Cravings boxes from Taco Bell. There's the classic $5 box, the indulgent $7 box, and a whole new obsession in the $9 box, the flaming hot grilled cheese burrito. Try the Lux Cravings boxes at Taco Bell today.
Find your sun with Sun Cruiser Vodka Iced Tea. Made with real iced tea and real vodka. Cold, refreshing, and made for moments like these all year long. Let the good times cruise with Sun Cruiser.
As sports fans, we may cheer for different teams, but there's one thing that we can all agree on. We want the game to be big. And with 3 levels, 30 cabanas, a 143-foot screen, 6 clean pools, and endless cold drinks, it doesn't get any bigger or any better than Stadium Swim in Las Vegas. All sports, all seasons. It's more than a pool deck. Stadium Swim. It's the only thing like it in the world.
The final buzzer is sounded on another night of Mountain West basketball, and it's time to break down the action with Tom Moser on another night in the Mountain West, presented by Circa Sports. Headed to Las Vegas for the Mountain West tournament in March? Make sure to stay at Circa Las Vegas and watch all the action at Stadium Swim, where the sports are on 365 days a year. Another night in the Mountain West has interviews, analysis, opinions after the final Mountain West basketball game of the day wraps up. All BNN broadcasts come from the Sun Cruiser Studios. Sunny days call for Sun Cruiser Vodka Iced Tea, made with real iced tea and real vodka. It's refreshingly smooth and easy to drink. Crack open a Sun Cruiser and let the good times cruise. The title sponsor of Bronco Nation News is Lithia Ford of Boise. Check out our full inventory of vehicles online at lithiafordboise.com. Lithia Ford of Boise, where Ford begins in Idaho. Did your team just get a big win? Suffer a bad loss? Come discuss it with us. Send us a comment or question in the ICCU YouTube chat, or leave us a voicemail at speakpipe.com/BNN. Now let's go to the Sun Cruiser Studios and join Tom Moser for another night in the Mountain West on Bronco Nation News.
Well, hello, friends, and welcome to another night in the Mountain West. And how ironic that that's the title of the show, just another night in the Mountain West, because I'm going to strongly assume that everybody watching live right now just finished about 30 minutes ago watching one of the all-time great games that you'll ever see in college basketball, regardless of conference. Forget about just Mountain West games. That was just an all-time classic game. So I'm sure we have plenty of Boise fans in here, and they're heartbroken. There's probably Aztec fans in here that are thrilled. If you're neutral, I'm sure you had a side you were rooting for. But, that was just what college basketball is. You don't get treated to those very often. The twists and turns, the back and forths. And man, it's 2 a.m. here, and I feel like it's 11:15 because, that was just something, again, that we don't get to see very often. So I could spend the entirety of the show talking about the game, as I'm sure BJ could have. He was kind enough to cut his Boise post game live on the scene there from Vieja short, so I can get going here, because we do have some other games to talk about, and there's a lot to discuss, because we had plenty of good stuff from our teams today. But without a doubt, we got to start here with what we just watched in Viejas. Triple overtime, 110-107. So, look, let's get it out of the way. San Diego State, in a way, they get away with one, right? They stole that literally and figuratively at the end of overtime after Boise had been left for dead by everybody, Boise fans, whatever. The game was pretty much over, down 24 late in the first half, 21 at the half. And again, this is where, there's so many plots and subplots and things, to talking points of the game. But what a fantastic effort by Boise to scrape and claw and get themselves back in a position where it was even a close game, let alone tie it and have a chance to win. So it's a testament right off the bat to Leon Rice, his staff, and the players. Okay, because as I had a tweet queued up and I said this, but I didn't send it because of the miracle at the end of overtime. But I basically said, like, look, you're down 20 at the half in Viejas. Most teams in that position, they fold up their tent, they fold up shop, they get out of Dodge. You're supposed to lose that game. It's a road game. You're an underdog, however you want to look at it. It's things aren't going your way. The other team's playing really well, like the Aztecs did in the first half. And it's easy to just kind of go into not go into tank, but just not dig in like you would in a 2-possession game with 7 minutes to go. And Boise, they fought and they fought and they fought. Now, on the other side of that, from the San Diego State perspective, they lack a little bit of a killer instinct. Okay, there's no getting around that. Now, they got out of Dodge here with a victory, come by hook or by crook, right? But and I'm not saying they stole the game. They deserve to win as much as Boise did, okay? But they got away with one because they really shouldn't have been in that position with Boise having a 6-point lead and 15 seconds left. But they don't have a killer instinct right now. And, like, yes, they won the game, and they're going to be very difficult to beat in Viejas. There's no way around that, right? They just beat one of the top handful or less than handful of teams in the league at home. There's not going to be many more difficult ones, Utah State obviously aside. A couple other teams will challenge them at home. I don't know how many games they're going to lose at home, but they go on the road with that type of kind of play, and it's not going to work in several places, okay? Because it's not winning basketball. You can't just show up for half the game, right? They did a lot of good things in the first half. Their energy was off the charts. Their defense was superb. It looked like I said it. This was the Aztecs that we thought we were going to get in the preseason, and not just because they were winning. Like, look, you can win and not be playing good basketball. You can lose and play good basketball, right? So, like, they have dropped prior to tonight, I think 20-ish spots in KenPom. That's has nothing to do with their record. Okay, they lost to 2 of the 3 best teams in the country in Michigan and Arizona, but they weren't playing efficiently. The KenPom measures your efficiency on offense and on defense. There's a team, and I can't remember, I think they won again today, but Miami of Ohio, right? A nondescript MAC team over here in the middle or somewhere in Ohio and they may have even won today. They were undefeated, okay? And they had like 12-0, something, 13-0. Going into today, they had moved up like 10 spots in KenPom since the start of the season because they're squeaking by. They're not beating good teams at whatever. So it doesn't matter that you're not winning or that you're whatever your record is. They weren't playing efficient basketball. That's why they've dropped the spots in KenPom that they've dropped. Okay, it has nothing to do with record. So they haven't played great. They played great in the first half. Why can't they sustain it in the second half? I don't know if it's a leadership issue. I don't want to call Dutcher's coaching into question because he's been to a Final Four. He's been to multiple Sweet 16s. He's at another team that got robbed in the COVID year of making a deep run. So he knows what he's doing. Maybe the staff isn't quite helping him out. Maybe it's on the players. Some of it certainly is as leaders or lack thereof. But something's not right there because that should not happen on your home floor. You should not allow a team to come back and make it a game like that. Okay, now I get it. Both teams are trying. Boise's trying, but you gotta have the killer instinct and step on the gas and not let it get even close to 8, 6, 7, whatever. Okay, now let's talk about a few of the other things here because I know as I start digging into the comments, I know what some of the hot button topics are going to be here, and that's the officiating. So let me go over some of this first, okay? And I'm going to try and work my way through here with the comments. First, let me also say that work with me here. I know as I get used to doing this more and more, some of the kinks and glitches will be worked out. I know the audio wasn't super last time. I didn't even have my microphone plugged in. I'm worried about doing too many things. It is plugged in tonight, so I should be doing okay. And beyond that, So let me get to this, Jordan. Can we get a clinic on what is a flagrant foul? So look, there's no doubt that there was some inconsistencies there. Okay. I don't. Here was the one that was heavily discussed was the challenge that Leon made, and I think the rule does not allow you to go back and just call a common foul. So I don't even remember what the result of the play was. I think it went out of whatever it was. And then Compton came and shoved someone. Again, so much stuff happened. I can't even remember. Okay. But that should have been a foul. Clearly that's a foul. I don't think it should have been a flagrant. Okay, now Dan Dickow, who I love, and I think he and Rich Walls did a great job on the call. They're fantastic. Dickow was calling for possible flagrant two. No way. I didn't even think it was a flagrant foul. It's a foul. It's not a basketball play. It's a foul. But I think in the course of the game, that will be called a common foul. The problem is, as I'm pretty sure I found out, once you don't call a common foul on the floor, you can't go back and assess that as a common foul. And so in that sense, I actually think the officials got that one correct. Okay, I hate to say it. All right, now, were there others that they botched? 100%. Okay, 100%. I do want to address the one at the end of, I guess, the second overtime, right? When, again, the players escaping me, it might have been Meadow, might have been Keene, whoever it was, grabbed the loose ball and was clearly bumped before half court, 70 feet from the basket, right? Look, is there a contact there? 1,000%, right? By the letter of the law, is it a foul? 1,000%. Okay. I have this discussion every year when stuff like this happens. Okay. I'm not an expert on officiating. Okay. I've tried it a few times. I've done it just in lower levels, right? It's way too fast, way too difficult. You have to freaking be ready right away to blow your whistle or else it's too late, right? It's like sending a tweet out. You can't send a tweet out 30 minutes later. Nobody cares. It's done. You can't blow the whistle 5 seconds late. You got to blow it right away. And it's not easy to do that. You freeze up, you panic, you get caught watching the game. It's not easy to officiate. Okay. Now I'm not defending the officials. All right. They get paid well. They should do a better job. But this was not an easy game to officiate. None of the college games are at a high level. It wasn't an easy game to officiate. But my point is, you don't make that call there. And I know people are going to say, oh, if it's a foul with 5 minutes left, it's a foul at the buzzer. And if it's a foul in the rule book, it's a foul. Look, I'm just telling you from having talked, I'm friends with officials who have done NCAA tournament games, okay? That I've had several discussions with them about this. You don't make that call, okay? You don't make the call, all right? Nobody, maybe I guess Boise fans, and I'm sorry, and you don't decide a game like that with that play. Now, is it a foul? Yes, but you don't do it. You don't do it. And you shouldn't want it the other way if it was on your team. Okay. I get it. It stinks but technically it's a foul, but they're not going to call that, right? It didn't, I don't want to say it didn't affect the play because it impeded his forward progress, but that was the right call. Okay. Now, were there some ticky-tack shooting fouls in, I guess it was the first overtime or whatever it was to get the Aztecs back in it when they were kind of buried? Probably. But again, those are subjective. And I thought the Buchanan and one at one point there, that was not continuation. They missed calls all game. And look, the crazy thing is Boise still had a foul to give in overtime. So it's not like they were getting hammered. I'll put the stats up here quickly. I'm not going to leave it on a lot. But if you look at the stats, right, like the free throws are even 31 and 32. It's not like it was a one-sided whistle all the way, right? It wasn't, okay? I mean, could you point to a few things? Of course you can. You can always point to a few things. There's no doubt about it. And I get it. You lose a game like this, one of the easy things to do is pinpoint a call that was made or a call that wasn't made against you. Well, guess what? The fans of the opposing team could do the exact same thing, okay? Here's a comment here, and I'll get to this in a minute. This was one of my talking points at halftime when Boise was getting drilled. Boise shot nearly twice as many threes, yet they drew more fouls. It happened well before the fouling at the end of regulation, too. Terrible night for the crew. Bad both ways. Yeah, so that's a valid point, right? You can't say that all game long it was skewed in the Aztecs' favor because it wasn't, okay? Were there some calls that hurt late? Of course there were, right? And it's unfortunate, but I don't want to focus on that too much, right? Because there was a lot to talk about with the game. Classic Mountain West game to end the night, 100% Trevor. Absolutely was. Just awesome basketball. Now, a couple things as we looked at those stats right there. I didn't want to leave them on. Boise took 30 shots from the field in the first half. 19 of them were threes. That's not their game, although they did make a bunch in the second half when they made that furious comeback and Buchanan was unconscious, but it's not their game. It's not like they sat there in a pregame and decided they were going to launch all these threes. The fact of the matter was that was a credit to San Diego State's defense. Like, they're not letting them attack off the dribble. They're not allowing them to dribble penetrate. They're not allowing them to have a lot of motion or movement. And as a result, you settle for throwing up threes. And I don't remember what they were. They were 2 for 11 at one point. It wasn't very high percentage, maybe 4 for 19. Not good enough, but that was a credit to San Diego State's defense. When San Diego State backed off the throttle a little bit in the second half defensively is when Boise got more aggressive, started driving it, started finishing in the paint, and you add some threes in with that, and that's how you get this massive comeback. So the other thing from that I wanted to point out with the box here is Guath. He didn't start. He came in a few minutes in, so I'm strongly, because I didn't see anything, and I'm going to think and strongly assume this had nothing to do with injury. This has to do with performance. And he didn't play the last whatever minutes, 25, 30 minutes. He was non-existent out there. Now, when you get in these games like this and the coaches, they're hesitant to sub guys in and out. You know, one of the key things that gets lost in all the other nonsense that happened late was NATO, I guess we'll go with now, NATO. I was going with Neto, but Neto fouling out in the second overtime. If you look at his stats, he had 13. He only had 2 rebounds and 2 assists, but man, the offense just runs better when he's in there on the floor. And with him out, it just, that hurt them in the third overtime. There's no doubt about it. But Guath, he hit 2 threes early. He finished the game with 9 points, no rebounds. So he had as many rebounds as all of us watching right now. That's not good enough when you're Guath, right? Now, Bird was a little better tonight, 13 points, 4 for 11, 5 boards. He was okay. Reese Waters, okay. 16 points on 5 for 12 shooting. He did have 5 boards and 6 assists. He played 45 minutes. I mean, it's easy to pile up numbers when you play that much. BJ had 22 points on 6 of 15 shooting and 11 rebounds for a guard. That's pretty impressive. Meadow, 51 minutes for Boise is remarkable. 25 points, 9 for 19. Buchanan again. Now, he finished 10 of 13. He missed his last 3 shots because he was probably winded. He played 42 minutes. He's not used to getting that many, obviously. He was like Leitner in a Duke-Kentucky game from 92. He was 10 for 10. He was making everything, and he was like an NBA player. He was just like, give me the ball. I'm going to throw it up and score. And, man, it's just a shame. But aside from Nato, 6 points on the bench from Boise. So Carmichael, 1 for 7, 2 points. It's not good enough. And their bench helped them against New Mexico on Tuesday. Did not help them out here tonight. But the other thing that you got to mention here then, and I'll get to some other comments. Bad ref. Yeah, we all know about that. Is the play at the end of the overtime when Boise was nursing that 3-point lead. We've seen Leon go to the home run ball before. Okay. Now I'm going to guess that this was not a call from Leon to go for the home run. Okay. They got the home run last year in the Mountain West Conference tournament. They did it against St. Mary's 2 or 3 weeks ago to seal that one, semi-seal that one. And doing it here was beyond risky. It was really a bad set of circumstances at the end of overtime. Parolin gets a clean block on Davis driving the hole. It was such a bad play by Davis to drive. There's like 16 seconds left and you're down 6 and he's driving to the hole for a layup. You can't tell Parolin or expect Parolin to just let him go and lay it in. But if he doesn't block that shot right to Harrington for the 3, Boise wins. If he blocks it out of bounds, Boise wins. If he blocks it in the paint, Boise wins. It was just poor luck, right? Sometimes that stuff happens. But Harrington hits that 3, Dutcher calls timeout, and then all you got to do is get the ball in bounds and secure a foul and make a free throw, and you win 90% of the time, right? I don't know. And they again, I don't think it was Leon's call to go for that because he doesn't need it in that instance. You don't need the home run play. You just need to get the ball in bounds. I think they tried to make a play that's worked before. BJ Davis read it and stole it. Yes, San Diego State went from the team that we thought they were, and that's what I said at halftime, that the preseason Aztecs are to a near horrific collapse. If you're reading this, blink 3 times. If I blink too many times, my contacts are going to dry up. One of the calls there. So Gwath from Braden, mental block with his knee, scared to get hurt again. Coach should have adjusted once Boise found something that worked. No foul for Meadow once you jump forward. I mean, you'll get arguments on that, Braden. I kind of talked about that enough. There's some from the Utah State game. We'll get to that later. There's a good one from Josh. Not the ref's fault for Boise. Can't be down 24 and expect to win. Yeah, I mean, look, when you're down that many points, you don't have any margin for error. It's amazing they got the game to overtime, but you don't have any margin for error. And yeah, I mean, they are lucky that San Diego State took their foot off the gas. Okay. So here's one, when I had said, is it the leadership? What is it? It's the players. Miles Bird is the same player he was a sophomore, immature, ego-driven, emotional, most veteran player on the team. Reese Waters goes non-existent as well. Look, I've said this about Bird before in my pod. He does seem more interested in getting the crowd fired up and having some emotional connection or just outbursts, sometimes negative, sometimes not, than sticking to what he needs to do on the floor. And it costs him sometimes. But you'll have this. So anyway, look, I mean, we could go on and on about this. We thought Odin fouled out. The announcers thought Odin fouled out. He hits a 3 in overtime. So, I don't know. Ryan says that's not the foul that most of us are mad at. We're mad at the flagrants and the phantom tripping call. Yeah, look, that wasn't his call. That was a call made from the baseline, not his call. He'll get notified about that. I know people, especially if you saw what happened last night in the Notre Dame Cal game, people will say that the officials don't get held accountable, mainly because they don't have to speak to the media or whatever it is, and I understand that. But whoever that was, he'll get marked on that, and that'll keep him from, I know you guys don't care, but that'll keep him from getting a game later on that could get him into whatever, right? So he'll be notified, look, that wasn't your call, right or wrong. Okay, it happened and he didn't trip him, but that wasn't his call. So that will get pointed out and he'll have to be better. Refs miss calls the way that players miss shots. I get it, like it sucks, but it just is what it is. Okay. Okay. Trying to see what else I missed here. I mean, yes, a lot of people are talking about the officiating calls were lopsided. I mean, look, Leon's technical didn't help. I mean, maybe if you want to say that those 2 points counted, but maybe it got his guys charged up. So, I mean, look, there were calls that go both ways. You could pin it on the officials, but you can also pin it on yourself too, right? If you make the simple play up 3 with 9 seconds left, instead of throwing a home run ball, you win the game. So just as easily as you can say the officials cost us, you can say the officials, it's not their job to say that, but the officials could say, hey, throw the ball in bounds and stop worrying about what we're calling. Okay. I know that's kind of a weird analogy there, but I mean, I don't know. Here's one. Would you move Neto to the point, move Andrews to the 2 and Keene to the 6-man role? I have zero issue with that. I've said before, I think Neto should be getting more of Andrews' minutes. Now, Andrews played 47 minutes tonight. He did put up some other good numbers, but I think if I looked at his shooting splits, he was 3 for 17 and 2 for 11 from 3. Now, he did make a lot of free throws that got him leads in the overtime, and 6 boards and 6 assists. But again, you play 47 minutes, you should put up numbers like that. There's no doubt that Neto needs more minutes. I mean, he does. The offense runs better with him having the ball. Andrews, point guards, unless you're Allen Iverson, don't take 17 shots. Now, again, he basically played 2.5 games here, but I don't need my point guard taking 17 shots. I just don't. So, and I don't know if that's something that they can address with him in the film, if he's even going to listen. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. You got to take him off the ball because other guys aren't getting shots then, and that's not good enough. Okay. Let's see. What are we doing here? Okay. I think, again, we go on and on about this. It was a very good basketball game. It really, this is one of those that it sucks that somebody has to lose, right? And had the Aztecs lost, man, after the way that they had played in the first half, that could have been a season-changing game for them. Like, I could have totally seen them. They play at Lawler on Tuesday. They would have been a walking zombie going into that place on Tuesday night had they not come back and won this game. So I think Nevada's probably a little bummed out that they don't get a reeling Aztec team. I don't know how they would have picked themselves up off the mat after losing this game. We'll see how they respond, period, on the road, because they haven't been great on the road the last few years. If you're Boise, it's up to them now to pick themselves up. Now they got an extra day off. They're going to host a Grand Canyon team that I'll talk about in a few minutes. But, look, no rest for the weary here. We talked about their schedule the other day. Tough game after tough game after tough game. Nobody's going to feel sorry for them, all right? They had a great opportunity to pick up an awesome win. But as I don't remember who it was, Trevor, somebody else, you didn't show up for the first 20 minutes. So, yeah, did a call go against you? Did the wrong play, whatever? You didn't show up for 20 minutes. So you got to look in the mirror too. You can spread the blame around, right? Look in the mirror and see what you could have done or differently in the first 20 minutes. I know some of that credit needs to go to San Diego State. There's no doubt about it, okay? Guath is disappointing. He's become a shell of the player he was last year. Sad the potential's there. Maybe it's just mental. That seems to be what it is, and it is unfortunate, right? We got so excited as a conference that he decided to stay instead of, he could have gone anywhere. Like, he could have got money from Texas Tech, like Toppin, or anywhere else, and he decided to stay here and forego pro and all that stuff. So, I mean, yeah, it's disappointing from San Diego State perspective, but I guess they clawed themselves back onto the bubble here. Boise was in Joe Lenardi's field going into today. This shouldn't hurt them, but it did cost them a chance to add a Q1 win, which would have been massive. And man, they would have really bumped up then had they gotten this one. So, Ryan says that the one on field, there should have been a flagrant. It was late. The ball was already out of bounds. It was not a basketball play. That's fine. I mean, look, that's you're entitled to that opinion, Ryan. I mean, look, the three officials that got paid to do the game saw it otherwise, right? And I have no dog in the fight, right? And I thought it should have been a common foul, not a flagrant. So I respect your opinion, and we're allowed to disagree on things, and I'm sure most Boise fans would agree with you. I'm sure people that are Aztec fans would disagree with you. So, you gotta have to take that as it is together, right? Can you explain putting basketball under protest? How does that work? I mean, you can't protest things based on calls. The calls are subjective by the officials, okay? And unless you see an official get convicted of some type of gambling or whatever, that stuff's not going to happen, okay? That, as I said a few minutes ago, they get graded based on their performance. And you guys as fans think they were awful, okay? I don't know if we can find out what their grades were in this game, but maybe we can see who the three guys were and see what games they get over the next 3 weeks. And you'll see if the people supervising and judging them feel the same way. Because if they're continuing to do Mountain West games and high-level games, then maybe they didn't think they did as poorly. If they start getting bumped down to the Summit League in the Big Sky and they're doing, crap games on a Thursday night, well, then maybe they didn't do such a good job, right? So, but that's just what that is there. So, okay, we got to move on because, like I said, I could talk about this forever. And we got a handful of other games to talk about, so I'm gonna get rid of that one. Great game. We'll be talking about that one for a long time. The two games that came before that, I guess we'll hit this one, was the New Mexico Wyoming game. And look, here's the deal. Here's the deal with this one. I think what I've seen here now is Wyoming have a ceiling, okay, and it's just not as high as the top handful of teams in the conference. All right, it's not, and that's okay because nobody expected them to have that. Their floor isn't super low, right? You see the floor of some of the teams at the bottom, and it's like, man, they're not that. Like Wyoming, they're going to compete, they're going to get after you, they're going to make it difficult to play you. But their ceiling is limited. They just can't get there. And looking at the numbers here, I remember watching, they hit, and again, I was watching the UNM and Nevada game, but they hit like 3 of their first 4 threes, the same as what they did against Grand Canyon or whoever it was. Maybe it was Air Force last few days ago. And then they kept jacking, and look what they shoot for the game, 7 for 28. They're not a good 3-point shooting team. I've said that handful of times now. Okay. Doesn't mean I'm right, but that's what I believe. 7 for 28. I don't think Sundance likes that. Okay. 7 for 28 is not good. 25% is poor. It's very bad shooting threes in today's college hoops. Okay. And they don't have pure shooters. So you shouldn't be taking that many. And they just got out of rhythm. But look, this was about New Mexico. Their defense was spot on. They were very good tonight. They got good minutes from a lot of guys. Very good second half. Olin's done it a couple games in a row now where he's made really good adjustments and they've come out on fire. It didn't last in the Boise game on Tuesday. It certainly did tonight. Albury, only 4 points on 1 for 6, but I'll take the fact that he's only shooting 6 times. You would like him to make more than 1 out of 6, but the fact that he's only taking 6, I'll take that. And 7 assists, only 1 turnover. Fantastic from your point guard. I'll tell you what, Haupt, who has stepped into the starting role with Howell out, 10 points, 5 boards. I mean, look, he's kind of the same player as Howell, but it's hard to argue that he's not better than Howell right now. So if and when Howell comes back, whether that's Tuesday, whether that's a week from now, whenever it is, I'm curious to see what Olin does with the minutes here, because we know that Howell is an Olin guy, but Haupt is giving you better minutes than Howell was for very similar type of players. Chol only 5 points on 2 for 4. Bouillon was just a monster today, 11 for 13 from the floor. Now, look, a lot of those are easy buckets inside. Well, I shouldn't say they're easy. They're buckets inside. It's not super easy to finish inside, okay? If you guys haven't noticed, there's contact. Sometimes you get hit. They don't call it. It's not easy, all right? 25 and 12, that's ridiculous. That's crazy. Jake Hall was scoreless at the half. He ended with 9 on 3 threes that all came early in that burst that really kind of pushed the lead out. Tannet's energy was very solid. 5 for 15, few too many shots, but I mean, look, he's got the green light, the fire, and and he does kind of with reckless abandon. So, but look, they were all over defensively. You whole Wyoming to 58 again. We talked about this. Wyoming wants to get up and down, and they had a guy or two out tonight, but you don't get much from Belich and Harris, honestly. And Sundance decided to play small tonight because he if you look at the minutes breakdown, Saxon and Sadi and Magassa are the 3 guys on that list that played the fewest minutes, and they're big guys. I don't know, maybe he has to revisit that next time because Bouillon ate him up inside, but I don't know. You just fast break 0.6 for Wyoming. So you don't get a lot of 12-second chance points. I don't know. Like they struggle to generate offense against good defensive teams, and that's just kind of the way it is. There's no way around that. So, but credit to New Mexico. I mean, look, you take care of your home court. 20th a win in a row in the pit. I think the announcer said that like 12 times over the last 5 minutes of the game as that one was winding down. But look, that's incredible. 20 in a row. I know that dates back to, I'm sure, at some point last year. Can't remember who the last loss was to, but I mean, you'll protect your home court, right? They're doing what they should do. Bounce back after a loss, good effort, hold a team below 60 points, a team that wants to get up and down and run. Very good job defensively. And they have an interesting game coming up on Tuesday. I believe it's in Fort Collins against the Rams, and I'll get to the Rams in a minute. So just kind of wrapping up with that one. I think that was about both teams there. The ceiling of Wyoming is limited, and New Mexico just kind of achieving the maximum that they can because of their coaching staff. So great job by them. All right, let's get to the other one in that time slot, and that was the CSU Grand Canyon game. Now, this one was frustrating for me because they did not have a live stream up for the first 10 minutes of the first half, so I couldn't watch it. I think Grand Canyon got out to a lead at that, or maybe it was the other way. I can't even remember. But the Nevada game was winding down, so I didn't force it. I was trying on like all my devices, phones, iPads, tablets, computers, everything, and I couldn't get it up. I saw other people were struggling with it too, so I figured I'd wait. It did come up late in the first half, but by that point, the Nevada game was nip and tuck, and it was winding down, so I just kind of let it go. But listen, this was about both teams. I mean, you have a CSU team that a week ago, well, I guess a week and a half ago, before they got drilled at Utah State, they were one of the 2 or 3 best teams in the conference, and now their stock just went way down after getting drilled there and losing at home to Nevada. Obviously, they're without Jorgensen, still without Bemba. They don't have much of a bench, and their stock was just way low. I think they were like a 6-point underdog in this game, which is wild to me. Okay. Talk about an overreaction. Now, again, hindsight's always 20/20, but man, like that's a well-coached team. Grand Canyon played well at Wyoming, but I don't think they played well this year. I've said that several times, and this was their chance. This was their chance to make a statement. Right? You're 1-0 in the conference. You got a team limping into your house where you are supposed to have a very good home court advantage, and they just couldn't answer the bell. I did watch the second half. They got run off the floor. I think it was 21-2 in the first 8 minutes or so, and then in the last handful of minutes, they decided to look like heroes and cut it to 7 or 8 because the Rams kind of choked it away a little bit, missed some free throws, had some turnovers, and didn't execute well down a stretch. Much like the Aztecs, they took their foot off the gas, although they had it in the bag by that point almost, as you kind of could tell. But, I mean, this was the time for GCU to step up, right? You know, their at-large chances were pretty much cooked already before today, but it's about getting into that top 4 to get a bye, to play for a conference title, right? And they have, a team that had not played well coming into your place. They don't have any size inside. They have no depth inside, and they just didn't do what they needed to do. Now, there was some foul trouble. Okay, as you look at their bigs, Demeril, 4 fouls, Owusu-Anane, 4 fouls, and Breidenbach, 3 fouls. He only played 7 minutes. Demeril only 15 minutes, probably because of the foul trouble. But, I mean, he used that frantic lineup out there at the end to try and scrape back into it. Henley made a couple shots. Brian Moore, I said before, he's been disappointing. 23 minutes, 2 points, only 5 shots. You know, where was he? And some of the other guys, I mean, Makai Williams with 22 off the bench. Drew's going to have to start him and play him more. I don't, there's just not a lot of other options at this point. Stromer, 27 minutes, 5 points. I mean, you give the guy 27 minutes, you got to score more than 4 points. But look, this game was about CSU. Booth, 12 rebounds, 19 points. I don't want to say he's playing out of position, but he's certainly more comfortable playing when he has a big alongside of him instead of just being the only post guy in there. Pasquarelli, he was in foul trouble. He only scored 4 points. Didn't make a 3. He certainly cooled off after his hot stretch from a few weeks ago. Rex Steiner had 14, Cadulas 15, and Muniz 14. So those 3 certainly picked up the slack. You know, one of the interesting things about CSU is you think about their high-flying offense and how they shoot the ball great and how they use such free-flowing motion on offense. I couldn't believe this when I looked this up maybe yesterday or 2 days ago. Going into today, in the KenPom website, they played at the 363rd fastest tempo in the country out of 365 teams. They were the 3rd slowest team offensively in the country, which means they make you work defensively and they work for good shots. So, I mean, they didn't make a ton tonight. They only made 9 out of 26 threes. But, I mean, look, they had 12 assists on 22 makes. They'd like a little bit of a higher percentage. But, I mean, listen, it's a road win in the conference when you're limping in. They were staring 0-3 in the face, and New Mexico coming to town, and they found a way to get up off the mat and play really well. So I'm disappointed in Grand Canyon here because I thought, again, as I said a minute ago, this was their chance to answer the bell, and they didn't do it. But you got to give credit to CSU. Credit to CSU. Trying to see if I have any. Let me go back to this. CSU, as San Diego State, a legit offense in your opinion? Past years, they'd never be able to hang for 3 OTs. I mean, look, it depends who's out on the floor. Because Compton looked really good tonight. I didn't even mention Compton. There was so much else going on in that game. Heidi has improved leaps and bounds with his post moves and his post play. He's a serviceable post guy to have moves and score inside. Same with Compton. You could kind of tell. I didn't even talk about this. I've been calling for Dutch to kind of adjust his minutes, not just with BJ Davis, but some of the other guys, and he did. Triple OT, Sean Newman, 7 minutes, and DeGorville, 14 minutes. So if those are the guys that are going to get cut out, so be it. We'll see what happens with Guath moving forward here. But if the guys you got to play are the guys that you played in the overtimes tonight, Simmons was injured, so he didn't play either. So Dutch really kind of shortened the rotation. And if those are the guys you're going to go with, Harrington, Bird, Waters, Heidi, obviously Davis. Those are the guys and Compton, those are the guys you roll with. And when they're out on the floor, when BG's out on the floor, good things happen. I don't like the way that Reese plays offense, to be honest with you, Braden. There was some questionable shot. He thinks he's playing in the NBA the way some of the shots he takes, and I don't like it. But I mean, look, we said earlier, maybe this is the way they got to play this year. I mean, obviously the score only got up into triple digits because it went 3 overtimes, but this isn't your 61-57 San Diego State team from 6, 5, 4, 3, 8 years ago. We've seen it. They can't do it for 40 minutes. And so maybe they have to push the pace a little bit and get more shots up. So I don't know. That's kind of my thought there. All right, I'm going to skip, for obvious reasons, the UNLV game. They had the flu, I guess. They also have guys out, which we knew. And so they were coming in limping in here, but they took care of business. They won by 30-ish. I don't even remember the final. They won by 30 against Air Force. So look, everybody should beat Air Force by 30 at home. But when you hold a college basketball team to 39 points, you're doing something well. And so they deserve credit for that, because they're not exactly known as a team to dig in against lesser competition. We've seen them lose freaking 3 quad 4 games already this year. And, this would have been another one. People thought, they're sick. They got the flu. Air Force is going to hang around. Air Force beat them 2 years ago. And it didn't happen. So credit UNLV on that one. Now we got 2 games to go. Let me get to this one, which was a great basketball game at the Save Mart Center between Nevada and Fresno, 66-65. I mean, listen, this was one of those games where, like, you hate that Fresno had to lose the game because they didn't botch it. I've seen them botch games down the stretch here this year several times already, okay? They did not do that. They made plays. Nevada just made more. And again, this is Nevada doing the things that they didn't really do last year, all right? And TR, my guy Rollison, 2 games in a row now, that's starting to become like a habit, right? He did it to push them across the finish line against CSU, and he certainly did it tonight. He had the winning basket, nice little drive and switch hands, and goes with the offhand off the glass down the baseline. But I mean, he played winning basketball. Now they did get a Camper back tonight from injury. Comer kind of disappeared, and this is what my fear was, right? I've mentioned this, but the Pack fans saying, oh, we're doing all this without Camper and wait till Camper comes back. And Camper wasn't bad, but you see right there, 6 points, 2 for 7, 1 for 3 on threes, 3 boards, 1 assist, 1 turnover, 23 minutes. It's not bad, but that's not like anybody you should be like dying to get back in the lineup productivity. Okay. He also, and again, look, this is not his fault, okay? But he slipped and was late on a rotation late in the game that allowed Hydrater to bury a 3 to put Fresno up 4. And I was like, oh man, like that was it, right? That was like a key moment in the game. Now, luckily, they answered at the other end. I don't even remember anymore who it was, but somebody buried one. You see Hydrater 5 of 9 for 3. I've been calling for that. 38 minutes for that guy. That's pretty impressive. 25 points. Bailey didn't get it done tonight, 19 minutes. He got his leash shortened with Camper coming back. He only scored 2 points. Price was good, 15 and 9. Lowry, 3 for 3, 7 points, 5 boards. You'll take that. Weems, 13, 4 for 8, 3 for 6, hit a couple big threes, 6 boards. You'll take that for sure. Comer, 2 points, 1 for 8, 3 board, 3 assists. So, and there's Rollison, 16 points, 6 for 11. And did some other things as well. So that's what my fear was, is how is Camper, how do guys play when they come back? Is he trying to fit in? Is he trying to do too much? How do other guys play? Is Comer now looking over his shoulder and feel pressure to play better because Camper's back? Those are things you have to factor in, okay? And I mean, look, with San Diego State coming to town on Tuesday, yeah, if Camper was available tonight, you got to give him run. You know, you're not going to like hold him out for the perfect time. I don't know when the perfect time will be. I guess when you play Air Force or somebody, okay, to work him in. And I'm not saying like he was bad tonight, but it's just a rhythm thing, right? And it's a cohesion and a chemistry thing. So Glad he's back, but now you got to get Comer playing well because he didn't. This is 2 games in a row now. Rollison's played well, but Comer has not. But look, you go on the road, 2nd game in a row. Your opponent plays well. Okay, CSU didn't play very well on Tuesday, and some of that was due to Nevada. Tonight, Fresno played excellent defense. They held Nevada to 21 the first half. They played excellent defense. And even, their length, they made it difficult in Nevada. They didn't give up a lot of second chance points. I took the stats off, but what did they give up? Second chance points, 12 for Nevada. And they got a lot of those on Tuesday in Moby. Points in the paint, 30. Okay, fast break points, only 6. I mean, Fresno made it very difficult on Nevada. They were pretty choppy, and for large portions of this game, I didn't think that they could get it done. I didn't think they'd get it done. I thought this was just one of those games in college basketball where you go on the road, the other team plays well, you don't play great, and it's not your night. So when all that stuff lines up and you still find a way to get a win, that's pretty darn good. You have to be excited if you're offered, if you're a Pac fan, all of that stuff. So here's one. I have that other game that I want to get to yet. Okay. Let's see. Jordan wanted the upset, but 3 OTs was respectable. Has me believing in a conference title. We don't have to worry about getting screwed because of Hawaii Pacific. Yeah, look, you should be excited as a Boise fan after that effort. Okay, especially the last 20 minutes. Okay, you don't want to really show the film of the first half, but you can definitely do it in the last, what would it be, 35 minutes at this point. It was a 55-minute game. Okay. I'm going to assume, because somebody said here about Odin playing with 5 fouls. Look, they had to have gone over that. And what they probably did was assign a foul to somebody that was, or to Odin that was on somebody else. And they took it back. They're not going to allow him to play. I retract my earlier statement about protesting games. If they do indeed figure out that both scorebooks agree that Odin had 5 fouls and he shouldn't have been in the game, then that is a protestable offense. Okay. Will it happen? Will anything? I don't know. And I don't even know if that's a fact. Okay. Just because a TV announcer said Odin had 5 doesn't mean he had 5. They mess things up all the time and whatever. Right. And things get changed at the scorebook. I'm going to assume that he didn't have 5. Okay. Okay. So let's get to the so look, great job by Nevada. They're 3-0, but huge game now on Tuesday at Lawler, right? You get San Diego State coming in. They'll be high in one sense off of the win, but man, they're vulnerable because they certainly didn't play perfect basketball here. And if you're Nevada, now that's a game that you feel like you should win. Okay, maybe before the season started, it was like, well, we'll have them at home and we'll have a shot and we got to play well. Obviously, they're going to have to play well, but that's certainly a game that they feel like they should win now if you're Alford and crew, right? Okay, so let's get to the last game then. And this was a heck of an interesting game too, I'll tell you that. The first game of the day, did not expect that to be the case in Logan, in the Spectrum, between the Spartans of Tim Miles and the first place, well, I guess tied for first place, but the Aggies of Coach Calhoun. So, look, this was, and I said, bottom line, when the game ended, and you see the final of 96-78, no doubt that this was the most deceiving 18-point final of the season in any conference. And I could say that pretty confidently, okay? Now, that's not a knock on Utah State. I think a couple of fans took it that way. That's not a knock on Utah State, right? Like, they didn't play poorly at all. They scored 96 points. They shot 63% from the field. Let me put these on the screen quickly. You shoot 63% right there. 34 for 54. 41% for 3, 7 for 17, 81% from the line, only 8 turnovers. I mean, you play clean freaking basketball. That's very good basketball. You score 96 points. So you have nothing to be like worried about with anybody. Like, that was not a knock at all on Utah State. It was just simply the fact that was a very good game for 35 minutes. And like 18 points wasn't indicative of how competitive the game was. Okay. Now, yes, we've seen this with San Jose State before, and I'm sure we'll see it again. We saw it on Tuesday night at home when they had San Diego State in a back and forth game for 32 or 33 minutes. They don't have enough guys, right? Look at the numbers, the minutes here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys played double figures. That's it. Only 6 guys played double-figure minutes, okay? You're going to be tired in the last 10 minutes, just like Buchanan missing those last 3 shots. You're not going to have the legs. You're not going to have the legs to fight for a rebound. You're not going to have the legs to get a jump shot up over the rim. You're not going to have the legs to make a defensive slide when you've played 37 minutes like Michael Bell did, okay? Melvin Bell, excuse me, all right? Or 32 minutes that Colby Garland did. You don't have the stamina. I know they're young guys. It doesn't work that way, all right? That's why you see, look at the breakdown on the Utah State side. Collins and Falslev did play a heavy amount of minutes, but everybody else in that 10 to 26 range, and there were a lot of guys like that. Now, I tweeted out today, Tucker Anderson, he's got to be almost shelved at this point. I hate to say it because he was a guy who you thought in the preseason you could get something out of. You got to bag him. 10 minutes, no points, 0 for 2, and he really wasn't close on either 3, and that's what he's out there for. He's out there to shoot threes because he gets blown by on defense. I'm not saying he's poor on defense, but he's an average defender. You don't need average defenders if you can't score, right? And the guy might make 70% of his threes in practice. He's not doing it in the games, and they have enough other guys, okay? You got to bag him at this point. I don't know what, maybe you wait until you play Air Force and you're up by 20 and you put him in and he makes a couple and it gets him some confidence. I don't really know, but like, look, you can't give him minutes anymore. You can't do it. Like there's too many other guys in that team against good competition anyway, that it's taking spots away from taking minutes away from other guys. And it's frustrating to see as an Aggie fan, I'm sure, because you think that the guy's a shot maker and he's got size and he's got some tools, but it's just not working out. But look, I mean, Falslev, Collins, Perryman was a stud today. I shut the stats off when it got out of hand there in the last minute and a half, and he had 13 and 8, and he ended up getting up to 10 assists. So a freshman off the bench with 13 points and 10 assists, that probably hasn't happened too many times this season in the country. So that's pretty damn impressive for Perryman, the freshman. Very good job by him. And Falslev and Collins too, good stuff. They did what they needed to do. They stayed the course, right? Like, it's frustrating and nerve-wracking when the Spartans keep knocking shots down with 8 minutes to go and 6 minutes to go. And I'm sure Calhoun and his staff figure that's why they're 40-minute games. They're going to wear down. That's normally they do. Maybe once or twice this year they won't wear down, but they did in this one the same as they did on Tuesday, and that's what happens. And the deeper team, therefore the fresher team and the more talented team won out. But look, you're going to get that a lot in this conference. Same as Nevada going on the road to play at Fresno. I hate to say it, there's probably like one freebie, maybe 2 freebies that you're going to get on your schedule this year if you play that team twice. Otherwise, you better show up and play. And some teams did that today. Nevada did that today. CSU did that today. New Mexico did that today. Nevada did. It wasn't simple. I meant to say New Mexico, and CSU did it as well. Utah State, no fault in their effort. It's just you're not going to beat everybody by 20. And the funny thing is they still almost did win by 20. Aiden says, I should be sleeping. I know, buddy. I appreciate you in here watching at 2:30. Well, I guess that was 20 minutes ago. So you probably are sleeping right now. It's 2:50 here, but I whatever. It is what it is, right? You only have triple overtime games so often in the conference. So you got to enjoy that. And we had a full day too, 6 games. So what else do we have on here? The San Jose only down 4 to Nevada. With 6 minutes. They look gritty today. Won't be shocked to see them sneak. Oh, absolutely. I mean, look, it's Miles. He does it every year where he can get a win or two. I think I had a couple other comments on this one. I wanted to get to them since I kind of got off the comments after the Utah State game, the Boise game. But look, the fact is, it's not going to be easy in this conference. I saw somebody say that Utah State, can they go undefeated? Nobody's going undefeated in any conference. I shouldn't say any conference, but nobody's going undefeated in this conference. I mean, the teams are too good. You saw what happened. I mean, Utah State almost lost today. Now, granted, they ended up not, and they pulled away and won. But, I mean, it's not easy. You got to go on the road in difficult take difficult road trips, all of that stuff. So, I mean, nobody's going undefeated. I think 17-3 will be a very, very good record. And I think now, as you kind of look at it, I had said on my pod, I can't even remember, was it last night, that there was a clear top 4. Now, we can move San Diego State up there. I think and I would take grief for this, I would still probably have Boise ahead of San Diego State. Look, the game was at Viejas. They should win. But I would probably put San Diego State 5th now. I just don't, and I've seen several Aztec fans corroborate that and say that they're not a top 3 team and that they don't think they're what they could have been. So, I mean, look, the fact is that they're a good team and they can beat anybody, and they probably will at home most of the time. But there's no way for me are they head and shoulders better than other teams like we thought. Mike says, as a Utah State fan, I won't overreact to a team playing out of their mind against Utah State. Very fair. Aggies are going to get everyone's best shot. They have to show up every night to stay at the top. Well said. That's kind of what happened. Mike also said, I was impressed by San Jose State hitting difficult shots in the first half, and the depth of the Aggies overwhelmed them late. And that's pretty much spot on, Mike. There's no doubt. Guys make shots. It's college basketball. These guys are shot makers, some of them, right? Okay. Okay, here we go. Nevada might be for real this year to bench is deep. Yeah, they certainly – look, they're doing things that they weren't doing last year, right, with the 50-50 balls, getting some, making winning plays. If you remember last year at the start of the year, they lost 4 conference games by like a bucket or 2 or in overtime. And I know the first 2 wins were not by 1 bucket, but they're getting those done now, and that's a great sign. So whatever happens moving forward, right? Are they, they had moved up into the mid 60s in KenPom. We'll see how it all shakes out tomorrow. I never do it during the day because there's games going on. I'll look at it all tomorrow, net and KenPom, how it shakes out. I did see a couple online bracketologists. I don't really pay a ton of attention to Joe Lenardi. I think he's over the hill. He's just living off his reputation. But they had Nevada, creeping up in the mix. Like, look, that UC Davis loss is going to hurt, but they're getting into the mix, right? And look, at this point last year, Colorado State, again, was nowhere. So if they can mirror what Colorado State was last year, certainly a lot of games and a lot of opportunities left. I know the quad ones won't quite be there like they were the last couple of years in this conference. They'll still have opportunities if they can continue to win games, okay? Couple other things here. I guess that's that. We're good with the comments. So that was that on the Utah State game. So look, an incredible day of Mountain West hoops. I appreciate all of you guys coming in here late night. I guess, man, for you folks in the Mountain Time Zone, it's even at 1 o'clock, which is late. Forget about me being here on at 3 a.m. You guys at 1 a.m. are troopers. Midnight out in the Pacific Time Zone. So we have 2 days off now. Tuesday is going to be a busy one, 5 games, and because it's a weeknight now, they're going to be jumbled in a little bit together. I think the late one is 11 o'clock my time, so 9 Mountain, 8 Pacific, and that might be the Nevada San Diego State game. I can't exactly remember. I had it on the screen before, but I turned it off with everything that happened here, and so I'll be back on. Did not want to put that back on there. Sorry. We'll be back Tuesday. See if we can get a guest and or a coach. It didn't work out that way tonight, but had plenty to talk about. That would have just cluttered it up. Wednesday is a solo, and it's Boise Grand Canyon. So we got to talk about that with BJ. We might combine the 2 shows instead of just doing 2 shows on the same game. It's another night in the Mountain West. We're talking all things Mountain West. So if it's just the Boise game, and BJ already has his post-game talking Boise, we'll probably combine those into one show. There's no real point in us having 2 separate shows right after one game. But Tuesday night, you can bet your butt I will be here late night on Tuesday, right after the final buzzer at that late game to talk about all 5 games. So again, appreciate all of you being here. Great day and night of hoops. And enjoy the rest of your weekend. I guess I had this open. I was sipping on it while I was waiting to come on here. The Sun Cruiser, had some of my followers get out and buy it. Hopefully they're enjoying it. The old Sun Cruiser vodka, took a couple. Probably don't need it anymore right now. Got to hit the sheets, fall asleep. So do the rest of you. Memorable night in the Mountain West, another night in the Mountain West. Thank you for being here. I'm Tom Moser signing off. See you guys soon.